As I said previously, I'm appearing on behalf of myself as an individual resident of Waltham Abbey, and I'm also representing the Waltham Abbey Historical Society. I'm focusing on one potential outcome from this proposal. This doesn't mean that I don't have other concerns, but I would like to, as I say, concentrate on the heritage side of the town and the effect on that. I've lived in Waltham Abbey for almost 50 years, and during that time I've learned a great deal about the rich history of the town, and have joined with fellow members of the Historical Society to preserve that history and to make it known to a wider population. Waltham Abbey, Waltham originally comes from the term weald ham, weald being forest, ham being settlement, so it's a town or village in the forest. There's evidence of a settlement there during Neolithic and Paleolithic times. The first Christian church was built around 670 AD in the time of King Canute. There have been 5 churches on almost the same site within the town of Waltham Abbey. The church that there is now is predominantly Norman construction, with some bits Saxon and with a later Tudor tower on the west end. In the 10th century, the River Lee was at times the boundary between Saxon England and Danelaw, so the town of Waltham would have been under Danish control. But in 1030, at the time of King Canute, the town played an important role in the unification of England. Above your head is a crest. The first bit is per crucium, which refers to the cross, and this is the miraculous cross of Montacute, which came to Waltham Abbey and was a bit of 11th century political spin. I can expand on that if you want me to, but I don't think it's necessarily relevant. Harold Godwinson, later King Harold, established a collegiate church there in 1060, and Waltham became a seat of learning. In the time of Henry II, the building of the Great Abbey was started and completed some 60 years later. Buildings took a lot longer to build in those days. The reason for the building was part of the penance which Henry II owed for his part in the murder of Thomas Becket. King Henry VIII had a house in Waltham Abbey, and as has been mentioned, the other part of that crest above you, the coronum, the crown, shows the royal links with Waltham Abbey. As I said before, King Harold, late Henry II, Henry VIII, and Queen Elizabeth had all had connections. In 1532, Henry VIII met with 3 advisors to discuss the second Brexit. Possibly I need to explain that. The first Brexit was a long time ago. If you've heard of Doggerland, which is the land bridge between Britain and Europe, disappeared under the sea, so I class that as the first Brexit. The second one, being planned in 1532, was the Henry VIII's break with Rome. Possibly that had more sense than the third Brexit, which we have just been through. With the nearby manufacture, firstly of gunpowder and other explosives, the manufacture of small arms in Enfield, the Lee Valley became a quite a centre of the armaments industry, and at the later end of the 19th century, Alfred Nobel, famous for inventing dynamite and peace, set up a factory manufacturing percussion caps in Waltham Abbey. Now, the reason why Waltham Abbey has been able to identify its history and to enable its study and research, and hopefully in future be able to pass this information to a wider audience and promote local tourism, is because the town exists in isolation, generally surrounded by countryside. To the north is open farmland. To the east is Epping Forest, administered by the Corporation of the City of London. To the south is again generally farmland to the Greater London boundary. And to the west is mostly Lee Valley Regional Park. Now, if you compare this with the development on the western side of the Lee Valley, and I've sent a map there, which I haven't got a copy for everybody, but if you're looking, one side it's urban all the way, on the other side it's Waltham Abbey, generally surrounded by countryside. That is a copy of an Ordnance Survey map. It's probably copying it is illegal. I'm not getting any gain for it, so I hope I don't end up in the Tower of London. As I said, on the west side, from Enfield, which was originally Middlesex, now Greater London, to beyond Ware, with a small gap around St Margaret's and Great Amwell, there is general urbanisation. A lot of that existed before the concept of the Green Belt, but green gaps around Cheshunt, Turnford and Wormley have been infilled in recent times. And I contrast that with the eastern side of the Lee Valley, and I have to thank Essex County Council, Epping Forest District Council and its predecessors for treating the Green Belt more seriously and not allowing similar urban development. But if such development and infilling were allowed on the east side of the Lee Valley, Waltham Abbey would lose its identity. We must avoid that. If the next development goes ahead, the door will be open to similar projects, starting with the rest of the land between Dowding Way and the M25, and then the south of Dowding Way, because again it's convenient for transport links, eventually to Abbey Lane, and then possibly to Chingford. Next, PLC and Trinity Hall are in no position to guarantee that further development on the Green Belt will not occur, and I would suggest that they have no interest other than in this application. Whilst Epping Forest District Council may wish to maintain the Green Belt for future developments, they would have considerable difficulty in doing so if this appeal is allowed. Any further developer would have to cite this development and threaten, if permission is refused, to appeal to the Department of Environment, with all the associated costs of doing so. Therefore, the District Council cannot guarantee that no future development on the Green Belt will take place. Sir, it is down to you, from the Department of the Environment and yourself here today, to provide this guarantee by refusing this appeal. The future of the history of Waltham Abbey, the environment local to here, and the preservation of the concept of the Green Belt are in your hands, and I hope the appropriate findings are made to maintain this.